there, everybody. What is going on? Real Diversity, man. We are back with another Marvel Snap video. And we're today going to be talking about a Mr. Negative deck. So I just got him. All right, let's go back. I don't know if I'll upload it or not, but I made a quick little video where I just threw together a deck really quick. I think I made some adjustments since then. Maybe not. I'm gonna check. But here we got. I hate whenever you click on it, you can't actually see, but you guys can see we just got Mr. Negative. I knew we was gonna get a card here, a new card, because you get one every 4 boxes. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4. We had got this Helicarrier, which I did make a discard deck really quick with that. Because I actually was looking forward to him. So these last 2 cards have been cards I actually kind of thought to myself, man, I think this could go in go here or something like that in one of my decks, because I knew about them, but I didn't have them, right? But I thought MODOK and Helicarrier was a decent combo. I don't know, maybe just me, but I think it was a great combo, especially if you can Wong your MODOK or something like that. I think it's a really great strat there. So, or just, you know, Helicarrier is just another card that can get discarded and you don't really lose anything from it, and it keeps your hand full. So I just thought it's a pretty great card if you don't get Apocalypse, right? So if you do get Apocalypse, great, discard the Apocalypse. If you don't, then, you know, whatever, right? So yeah, so as you can see, we're going to talk about the Mr. Negative deck. So we just got him. Okay, so I think this deck maybe, I wouldn't say fell from grace, but is not as strong without Silver Surfer. Now, this deck was okay before Silver Surfer, right? But with the loss of Surfer, because he's a 3/2 now, then we kind of have to, he's not an option. So I have for the longest been trying to make Iron Man decks. You guys might have already seen some of my Iron Man deck videos. If I ever did upload those, a lot of times I'll make a video and just never even upload it. So and it's just sometimes like it wasn't that great, because when it comes to content on here, I feel like a lot of times I'll make a deck then just play it, and at the times if you have no experience with a deck, you're not gonna do that well. Like move decks, I play really well with move decks because I know the mechanics of every card, how they interact together. I've been playing with it so long that a lot of people don't see a lot of things coming. So it's kind of hard to predict, even if you have seen a move deck before. So yeah, and it's a deck. Every time I go against a move deck, I'm like, oh yeah, it's over. I know your every move because I played a move deck forever. So, but anyways, point is, we're here with this Mr. Negative deck. Let's talk about it. So, if you do not know, and I saw this is the biggest thing that kind of made me want a Mr. Negative deck, is because I did see this. If you have Jane Foster, you play Jane Foster with Mr. Negative, you will get those 0 cost cards that you put in your deck. So it's a great turn 4/5 combo if you don't already have it. Now we're gonna talk about the pros and cons of this deck. I don't think I'm gonna have gameplay separate, just because when I talk, I always seem to go forever on and adding gameplay. I think I should just separate them kind of, but we'll talk about it up front and then we'll just make the gameplay a ticket. So, which I've already played with this deck, so I already know the kind of pros and cons so far, right? So right, so the purpose of this deck is essentially every card is supposed to be, if it gets flipped, it's supposed to help rather than hurt. So there are some cases, if we don't get Jane or Odin before the flip, we do not want to see those cards. We do not. If we don't already have Jane before Mr. Negative comes out, we don't want to pull Jane, because Jane is going to come out in 8/5, and you cannot physically play Jane on a normal turn at that point. So, and I thought it was gonna be like the there is a location that swaps your hand for you, and I thought it was gonna be like that, right, where it swapped my hand and then Jane becomes like a 6/5, right? No, she becomes an 8/5, which I cannot play her. I don't know if that's a glitch or what the heck that is, but I cannot play Jane Foster on at all at that point. So same with Odin, he cannot be played either. So the cards here are essentially the power of a Mr. Negative deck is that you get a bunch of zero cost cards, which makes them really valuable. Right. So Iron Man is the biggest, obviously, pro here, right? Pro, because he automatically becomes a zero by himself. He becomes a 0/10, honestly, with his ability and power. You put him with anybody else, he becomes, right, like a. It's easy to get like a 40 power station with Iron Man now, because he gives 10 by himself. Plus, if there's already like 15 there, plus his 10, and he's doubling the 15 there, so that's 40 right there. 15 doubles that 30 plus the 10 he brings, that is 40. So he can easily get the power ramped up just by himself. So Iron Man is highly the most powerful card in this deck. So, right, like I said, the purpose is once you Mr. Negative, every card you pull at that point gives you value. So, let's talk about, let's kind of just go in order of the cards here. Ant-Man is just a good one cost. I think that fits. We're gonna fill up some locations. If we can draw Ant-Man early, great. If we don't draw Ant-Man before Mr. Negative, no harm, no foul. He'll still be a 1/1. Doesn't matter. So he fits in here pretty good, pretty well. If you want him early, if you're not, it's still fine even if you draw him late. And if you never see him at all, it doesn't matter either. It's an Ant-Man. He's just a good one cost in my opinion, because we really don't have any other one cost to throw here. So as for the 2 costs, we have Zabu and Psylocke. Now these are kind of some backbone cards in his deck, because the whole purpose of these cards is to get Mr. Negative out 1 turn early, if possible. Really, there's a Pegasus thing going on right now, so this deck has been seeing a little bit of success for me today with the hot location today. I was wondering what the heck was going on, because I kept getting this location. I see it's the hot, so I've been immediately been able to play Mr. Negative turn 1 or 2 if he's in hand, so it's been great for him. I need to look into see if there's any better cards to play. He's like the best card to get out early, so I think he helps a lot right now during this Pegasus event, Project Pegasus. So Zabu and Psylocke. So Zabu pits Mr. Negative at he makes it a 3, so we can play him turn 3, a 3 energy, and then the Psylocke gives us 4 energy, so we can play him turn 3 as well. So the thing is, they just kind of get us to play Mr. Negative 1 time earlier than possible, and that is the biggest thing we want from him. So we get to play him earlier, so that lets us get a higher chance of drawing another card. So the perfect hand will be Zabu or Psylocke, Mr. Negative, Jane Foster. Those 3 cards. Now, a lot of times, that's called in my opinion, that's called a win condition, right? You have select cards, and you want them at select times. Now, I always hate making win condition decks, because like a move deck, you just need 3. You just need 1 of the 3 cards that gain power from moving, Muscle Man, Vulture, or Human Torch, right? There's no one except Dagger. Dagger gains moving, or Kraven. Even so, there's really Kraven can have some benefits too. I rather he just kind of he's just in there and gets bonus as the match goes on. But if I don't see those other 3 cards and I have Kraven, fine. I can work some out with Kraven too. Let me move some cards to Kraven. Let me get him up there to like a 210, right? So there's so many ways you don't have a set win condition to win with that deck, and that's why I find a lot of success with move decks. The only biggest problem is sometimes is space, especially if you're using like Muscle Man or somebody. You can run out of space pretty quickly sometimes, so you just kind of have to watch that, and you have to think like 2 steps ahead. But decks like this, you need like this card, then you basically are set to win, hopefully, right? So that's what this deck is here. And then we kind of also, so Wong, he's another card that benefits. He becomes a 2/4 with Mr. Negative, so he kind of benefits for us as well. He's lower energy, higher power, so there's really a lot of cards that benefit, because it's just kind of the name of the game. Is a lot of times you usually, unless it is a like 6 power, you usually have the cost sometimes is usually more than the power because of the ability. So this kind of reverts that, and you have a lower cost, higher power, plus the ability. So that's what always makes Mr. Negative so much like he's been a broken card. I think I never played beta, but I heard that he was definitely like a staple like card in beta, along with like guys like Nova, right? So yeah, so that's what I've heard. But yeah, he's still very viable to this day, and he will always, in my opinion, unless they change Iron Man, mainly just Iron Man. And if they don't change Iron Man, then we're good. So here is the best condition we can get, right? So, well, let me continue on with the cards first, and then I'll get to it. So Ironheart, another 0/3, or another 0 energy if he gets flipped. Can be drawn out by Jane Foster if we now we'll talk about this in a second, but I'm just talking about it now. But if you draw certain cards early, it kind of sucks. If you draw Iron Man before you get Mr. Negative or play him, it kind of sucks. Artem Zola or Wolfsbane or Ironheart, it kind of sucks because then they, they're still their normal old, self, right? So if they come out later, that is perfect. It's been so many times it seems like every time I Mr. Negative, Iron Man almost always seems to come out the deck some way, somehow. And like the next pull or two. So I'm usually lucky about that. But so we got Ironheart. Let me get back onto the cards. Ironheart, Wolfsbane. Wolfsbane becomes a 1/3 and basically becomes a 1/10 in the right location. So she has tremendous value. Once again, Mr. Negative himself is great. I want to say it would be great if Mr. Negative can Mr. Negative himself. I think that also, well, I guess this would make him broken, but if he was like Sauron or just anybody that affects your hand and deck, like Blast, I think. So like if Zabu could affect the hand too, I think that's what would make him broken. I think he would almost always be a winnable card. But I think also that's what makes him great, is though I can, because he doesn't affect the hand. If I do have Jane Foster, I can still play Jane on for turn 5 and still have success pulling out those 0 cost cards that we really want. So that's basically our win. Really, we don't even need Zabu or Psylocke. The winning cards are always going to be just Mr. Negative and Jane Foster in hand, and you don't even need them turn 1. That's another great thing about these decks, is some cards you need turn 1. I need these cards early. I can, as long as I pull them eventually, right? If I start with Mr. Negative, let me pray before turn 4 I get Jane. We're good if I get Jane. Let's just hope before turn 4 I can get Mr. Negative. So I mean, it's really until turn 4. You have until turn 4 to get these two. So that's not too crazy bad or hard. So I think that's reasonable, right? That's like, you just need 2 cards, and you draw like half your deck before you need them. So I think that's pretty decent. Anything else on now? Okay, so Mr. Negative himself, right? He's the king of the castle here. We haven't even upgraded his skin at all. Wong, like I said, tremendous value. Iron Man is kind of backbone. Once we Mr. Negative, he is that go-to. We need him. We want him. He gives us tremendous value. And then there is White Tiger. White Tiger, another, like, so if we can get Wong, if we draw like Wong and then White Tiger, we're great. We're in good shape. We can get up a lot of tigers. They themselves have a lot of power. We're good. Odin is another. He's kind of a backup plan, right? If we don't even see Mr. Negative, if we don't even see Jane Foster, if we get Wong, White Tiger, Odin, that's a winnable game regardless, and that's still a winnable game. As long as we don't see a Cosmo, we're in great shape there. So I think, that's the reason they're in here. Besides Wong and White Tiger shaping well with Mr. Negative, this is still a good backup plan. I think a good 4, 5, and 6 play. And then so another play, I have not done this. But we're with the same Wong and White Tiger strategy. you can Artem Zola that location. If you have Wong and White Tiger, if you Artem Zola that now here's the problem. Is sometimes if you don't get this in the right order, it can suck. But if you copy Wong first, then you copy White Tiger, they're gonna do their same abilities and fill up the map with White Tigers and with Spirit Tigers, right? So it's a kind of another Owen play. I have not done it because it always seems questionable. But it's another option. If we don't have Odin and we do have Artem Zola, that does seem like a plausible play. So just want to throw it out there. Another play is, like I said, Jane Foster, another kind of backbone card. Like we said, Mr. Negative, Jane Foster. That's basically the hand we want to start the game with. If we start the game with that hand, we might as well snap. The problem is, if before turn 4, and another thing, turn 4 is not like long. We can hopefully we're not gonna say we don't draw half the deck yet. So there's a good chance we actually don't want to pull certain cards, and that is Iron Man, Ironheart, and Artem Zola, right? Because we can pull those guys out later. Let that in and whatnot. So actually. So, and then Odin, like I said, is our backup. Now, here's another card that you do not want him to come out early. You do not want to see an Odin come out after you Mr. Negative. Or you want to see him early, you just don't want to see him after the Mr. Negative. Because then he's unplayable. He's 8-6. That's unplayable. Just like Jane Foster. He was even worse because she's a 8-5. So yep, you don't want to see the Asgardians after turn 4. So if you did not get them early, hopefully you don't see them at all. That's kind of the prey. Other than that, if you can get that turn 3 Mr. Negative, you're in good shape regardless. Because you got that extra turn to draw a card anyway. You have that extra turn to draw that bogus card, so it's all good. So yeah, that's the deck. All right. So I always like to look and see really quickly after I make a deck, is there any changes? Oh, okay. So let me talk about some pros and cons real quick about the deck. Biggest con is I think the Jane Foster Odin really kind of seems like if you see those cards after Mr. Negative, you're kind of screwed. Everyone else is perfect. I love seeing everyone else. It doesn't matter. Anyone else that comes out the deck is Wolfsbane comes out, Ironheart comes out. Everyone else is perfect. So I am okay with that. Another pro of this deck is if everything does go right, you have a good. If you do get Jane and you do get Mr. Negative, and by turn 5 draw, so you pull out all your 0-cost card on turn 6 when you draw, you have a really good chance of getting another great card like Wolfsbane, Wong, or anybody else. Maybe even Xylox. Maybe even a 1/2 Xylox still a good card to play turn 6. So I mean, so you have a good chance of getting something valuable as well on that turn 6 draw once you pull out your 0 cards. So I think you're in good shape there. So but once again, I don't think a lot of people, I saw this once. I've seen Mr. Negative decks, but I didn't see Jane Foster. Maybe they just didn't play her or didn't have her or didn't know about her. But I saw that play once and I said, oh my God, because this guy had played like 7, not 7, he played a lot of 0-cost cards on turn 6. And I had no chance. So yeah. Once again, Artem Zola. So and then once again, a good deck I think is a deck that you can win with, even if you don't get the cards you want. So I think this has so much synergy regardless. Iron Man, Artem Zola. That is a lot of power. Long as I did a little bit of backbone early in the game, I think, which is kind of hard with this deck. But if I did some backbone early, Artem Zola, Iron Man is still a solid strat. But we would rather that Iron Man be negative and he be a a 0.5 then Artem Zola. Sometimes I don't. A lot of times I don't care if the Artem Zola comes out early or not, because I can still play him as a 6th cost and he still has a lot of value, right? So, especially with the other 0 cost. So, Ironheart, for example, if I Artem Zola Ironheart, it's still a great value, right? So, so yeah, like I said, a lot of good stuff here, and the deck is great. I haven't. It has not been a game where it hasn't been winnable, even if I didn't get Mr. Negative or something like that. It's still been like, oh man, okay. Let me do this, right? I can still do this. So there's still a lot of viability in this deck, regardless of Mr. Negative. Also, Zabu, once again, he does help Wong as well. So we can get an early Wong off, then we can get Ironheart turn 4. So it's a lot. It's a lot. Good things we can get done here. It's a lot of synergy. I promise you that. The synergy is there with almost every card here. The only thing I kind of want to add another. Let me actually go look at that. We do have Zabu. Is there? Oh, Dracula. I thought about that as well. I was gonna say, is there another good 4-cost card that would help us here? Oh, Shuri. Shuri. Interesting. 2/4 Shuri. Hey, I just thought about that too. Shuri may be decent. I just don't know about it, honestly. But I do see some viability there. And she could come out early if Zabu's on a play, so there is synergy there. Dracula, I'm looking at Dracula. Oh, Jubilees also looks okay. I gotta come back later, I think. I gotta experiment with this deck later, maybe with that Shuri. But if I do Shuri, then I think Wong needs to probably come out. I think she would take Wong's spot. But if I did that, also White Tiger would probably have to come out, because I don't see her as viable anymore. But let me just look through all the costs. Oh, Taskmaster also, but Taskmaster's kind of dumb because of a 0.5 is enough, unless does his equal to the so his card becomes just equal. So yeah, that's not that great in this situation. Valkyrie's an interesting card, but her effect would kind of counteract her there. Sarah's an interesting card too, but I mean, it doesn't seem viable. Yeah, I think Artem's the only 6 that really helps us here. Sunspot is also, I guess, another. We could put him in instead of Ant-Man, actually. Now think about it. He is another substitute. Oh, or Adam Warlock. I thought about that, but I was just like, by the point I'm Mr. Negative, I don't need him, really. But he's not bad, especially. He's just kind of not that bad in his deck, because if I do play him early with like Ant-Man or something, he helps us draw some cards early, but at the same time, we don't always want to draw early, so I can kind of see him being counteractive. So I'm not big on him either. But he's another 0 option. It's always good if you can get that extra 0 cost power on turn 6, because it's just gonna help it's just gonna help. It can only help. I think, yeah. I don't see any purpose in Invisible Woman. Goose is interesting. Morbius is also interesting. Oh, Angela. Interesting. Why I never think of Angela? Angela might be better than some of these. Angela might be a decent option here. especially if we're playing like a crap ton of cards on turn 4, but at the same on turn 6. I see. Okay, I gotta think about her, but I do see. I don't know. I didn't notice her earlier, but she does have viability. I'll give her that. Oh, Cerebro also does have viability. I thought about more. Oh yeah, I did make some more fuzz initiating the deck. I think I subbed them out for somebody. But what's the purpose of him? It was like he was a decent card to play before Mr. Negative, and that was about it. Gambit, interesting thought. Oh, also Mystique's also interesting because we could get a free 0. Oh, that's very interesting. Mystique and then Wong. But Wong is the oh she could do Iron Man too. Double Iron Man. Whose spot would you take Mystique though? Iron Man and Wong all seem viable. But just those two is what sucks. Just those two really. But there is some. But even just a 0-3 seems okay too though. But if she could copy Iron Man, that is interesting. I do see some viability with her. I do, even if I play her turn, like even if I, yeah, there, whose spot would you take though? Is the question. I can only okay. See, that is interesting. I might have to think on that, but she definitely could take somebody's spot. But it's the question is just like whose spot would you take? It would have to be like Psylocke or Zabu, but I don't really like that idea. I like having two. Maybe she would just take Ant-Man's spot, honestly. Man, I just, oof. Ant-Man's a decent, like, 1-4, regardless. Having that 1-4 option is always great. See, what this does piss me in a bind, because then I always need Mr. Negative. Because I can still make plays without Mr. Negative, though. Let me look at the forecast again. I think we already looked at these. So yeah, okay. I mean, so there's a few options. Shuri, Dracula, and so am out of my deck. Now I think there's more options. I don't have every card, obviously. But out of my options, this deck has been performing. But I'm like, as I play, I'm gonna now keep in mind how would Mystique have worked in this situation and things like that. I think I'm gonna keep that in mind. How would Dracula work here? How would Shuri work here? As I play more games and just kind of get an idea, is this a good strategy to actually implement, or is it just like kind of wishful? Because you gotta think of practicality. You really do. When it comes to these decks, you really gotta think of practicality and like think to yourself, is this practical? I think a lot of times you're like, oh yeah, this card's perfect, but does it really work in every situation? And one thing about Mystique is that it seems like a low. It seems decent because if I get that Jane Foster play, even if she comes out before Jane Foster, I see a lot of viability in her. So yeah, I think we'll leave it at that, man. We're gonna get some gameplay out. We're gonna get some gameplay for you guys. And this video's already been long enough because I've been thinking, just kind of thinking as I'm looking. But yeah, man, I hope you guys enjoy. I hope this was insightful. I try to be insightful with these decks, because and that's why it's hard until you play with the deck to be insightful. It's like, well, I hope this works, but you don't really know it until you actually like use the deck out in the meta. But I must say, it competes, of course. I mean, just think about the best plays you can play, and you think about that, it definitely competes. So I'll give it that. I have not seen too like it's viable. I promise you, it's viable. Even without Mr. Negative, and that's always great. Even without your keystone card, if your deck's viable, you're in good shape. So, yeah, I think Wong Shuri also has survived, but yeah, I think if I did do that, a lot of the cards that would come out would be like Psylocke. I think would come out. I don't know. Well, I know Psylocke's good. Ant-Man is really that one card. I think he brings so much viability, but if we had to make adjustments, I think it would come with him first. I think he would be the first card to go. Cause a 1/5 White Tiger is insane. But basically, I'm tripping. She's not even a 1/5. She's a 1/12. So, and like it's just hard. I was thinking maybe I should take her out if I want to add cards, but her value is insane if she gets Mr. Negative. It's so many cards, but she's one of those cards you have to draw, and I hate having to draw those. But like I said, once you pull out that Jane Foster, that turn 6, you have a good card. You have a good chance of grabbing that Wolfsbane White Tiger if they aren't already in your hand. So, but man, I love this deck, man. I love talking about it. It's so in depth. I love talking about move decks too. We might make another actual in depth move deck video. But man, hopefully this was insightful for you guys. Once again, man, we're gonna get some gameplay up soon for you guys. Hopefully it's good. But if you guys did enjoy, please hit that like, subscribe button. Real Diversity, man. We're out. Peace. Love you guys.